Most people are unconcerned about potentially life-ending world events. Disasters such as global warming and Putin's missiles happen to other people, you see. They don't happen to the likes of you and me. Yet there are also people who are overly preoccupied with apocalyptic events such as terrorist attacks, major epidemics, meteorite impacts or tsunamis. These are the people who always have extra food in their pantry, they've got weapons of some kind hidden away, and they plan for survival in the event of calamity. Now, I don't know whether it's right or wrong to be a prepper and a survivalist, or whether it's right to ignore the likelihood of an apocalypse happening until it actually does happen. To me, both planning to be a survivalist and not caring about an upcoming apocalypse both make sense. And for some people who live in the shadow of a volcano or who live under the despotic rule of a dictator, being a prepper really does make sense, as in these cases, chances of a calamity happening are only too real. Ukraine, COVID, flooding, fires are just some examples across the world at the moment. Yet, for the lucky people who live in the West, the chances of such disasters happening are generally quite low. Yet, and this is the surprising thing, many people are still survivalists. For such people, it makes sense to be a prepper, since the cost in terms of lives is high if the event happens, even if the probability of the event is low. People in the midst of an apocalypse will look for shelter, weapons, food, and trusted friends, which suggests that these are things for which people should prepare. And there's a lot in the popular literature about survival. There's lots of survival handbooks, which are both genuine or fun. Bear Grylls, for example, puts together lots of great infotainment shows on the art of survival. And even more fun is the book by Brooks in 2003, who's written a lively account of how to prepare for and survive a zombie apocalypse. So there's lots of work out there, but it's important to understand the personality of survivalists and preppers, which hasn't really been looked at before, because being prepared for an apocalypse will presumably assist in surviving it. It's possible also, however, that such people who are survivors and preppers might have strange, unusual, perhaps even deviant personality characteristics, and therefore might also be a danger to society. So in my research, I wanted to find out what type of person is a survivalist or a prepper. What kind of people prepare for a major disaster? I collected a cross-sectional sample of people from the good old US of A, split about equally across males and females and with an average age of 33. I collected results of personality tests and a survivalist behaviour questionnaire which I developed for this project. And here is a list of the survivalist and prepper questions. They concern things like stockpiling food, stockpiling weapons, stockpiling equipment and materials, thinking through in their minds ways to survive a potential disaster, thinking who would be in their survival group, how you would get supplies to survive a disaster, having plans that you could put into operation to survive, and having also previously attended survival courses. So the results showed that being a high prepper was in fact related to being successful in work, such as, for example, higher seniority, higher entrepreneurial intent, higher spiritedness and deeper learning. It's actually quite interesting, since it shows that planning for a disaster and being a survivor is related to climbing the management ladder, to having energy and direction, and to generally being a lively character. It seems to me that being a success at work is not just about being a thriver, but it's also about being a survivor. Think, for example, how success at work comes from surviving the bad boss, the corporate restructure. It pays to plan for a survival as much as it pays to be ambitious. So although survivalists think deeply, unfortunately, the story isn't so simple. Here's the thing. More worryingly, people who plan for disaster are lower in agreeableness and higher in Machiavellianism, psychopathy and narcissism. So survivalists are potentially selfish and malevolent individuals in terms of their personality with strong self-preservation instincts and less interest in civic society. They are more inclined to take advantage of others for their own personal gain. So overall, I found that survivalist and prepper behaviour can be measured. Survivalists have some dangerous tendencies which can make them problematic in civil society, out for themselves, and potentially also will enable the human race to survive a disaster. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section below if you agree with the results of my research.